It's the dark moon. It's Mercury retrograde. Mars is going to be stationary next week. The moon is traveling through the zodiac, making its way to Scorpio to meet with the sun. So let's talk about planetary transits, some of the current energies. My name is Aurélie. I'm a Vedic astrologer. And let's talk Vedic astrology. I'm going to be using the sidereal zodiac, which means the position of the planets according to the tapestry of the stars. Om Hrim Jyotir Ganeshaya Namah. Om Hrim Jyotir Ganeshaya Namah. Om, universal power, I praise the light-giving Ganesha. We invoke Ganesha when there's issues with Ketu or Mercury. And Ganesha helps us overcome the obstacles. In the olden Vedic tradition, Ganesha is actually the first worship that's given to children. And then later on, we also learned that Ganesha is at the door of all siddhi, is at the door before the great knowing, before going into the higher, much higher states of yoga. So in some ways, Ganesha is the beginning and also the end. Now this dark moon in Scorpio is happening on the 30th of November and it will finish on December 1st. It's a lunar day, which means it begins and ends and the ending is a culmination of the darkest moment when the moon is at its darkest. There's a few important planetary exchanges happening at the moment. Mercury and Ketu are exchanging energy because they are in each other's sign. Jupiter and Venus are exchanging energy until the first few days of December. And that's important for Scorpio because Scorpio currently is with Mercury and this dark moon is happening with Mercury. Now Mercury has gone retrograde. And retrograde planets show things, a momentum of the past. If the soul is retrograde, we say you're revisiting something. It's a momentum towards looking backwards. And Scorpio has this very strong energy of our karmic debt because it's the natural 8th sign of the zodiac, and in the 8th house, this is where the karmic debts are held. Wherever the 8th lord goes, it's the debt that we have to give back into this world. It could be in our relationship, in our work, it could be in the way we're showing up in society, and it could be on our health too. That 8th lord is somewhere. Now Scorpio also is ruled by Mars, and Mars is currently debilitated. And Scorpio is under the influence of 2 of the nodes and Saturn, so it has a lot of dark energy. That's why there's a big theme around poison in our life. Because in some way, Rahu is somewhere for all of us. And Rahu has this manipulative energy, has this kind of little bit being very smart but deceitful. When Rahu is strong in someone's chart, we say, yeah, you're damn smart. You're one step ahead. You can see people coming the way they think, but there's a sneakiness. And you have to be very careful because the more sneaky we are, the more kind of manipulative energy we invite in our life, the more we make this poisonous energy stronger. And the sun is the most spiritual planet of all. So when we're coming to this dark day of the moon, it's a really great time to take stock over how we're using our voice into our lives. Are we being honest? Are we being straightforward? And there's levels of honesty. There's levels of how much truth you're actually embodying. And make no mistake, you can recite 1,000,000 mantras, be initiated in the most ancient sadhanas, and learn all the seeds and sounds, and invoke Ganesha for puja at midnight every night in the most tantric ways. If you are not practicing truthfulness, do not talk to me about spirituality. Yeah, at the root of spirituality, the sun is the most spiritual planet. It shows this common light that we have in all human beings of creation. And there is a differentiation because all souls have different karmic bonds to like their existence, but there is a commonality of this light of the soul. And at the core value of the sun is truthfulness. The core value of the sun is to follow dharma, to follow a way of right living, a way of honesty, and doing our best to practice that in all aspects, when it's convenient and when it's not. So we have the strong poison energy over Scorpio. Where are we being honest? Where do we need to take stock? Where do we need to reflect on how we're using our voice and energy? Now Jupiter has an aspect onto this dark moon, onto Scorpio at the moment. That's why it's a great time to lean into our spiritual practice, to activate more of this Jupiterian energy, which helps people get along. If you are celebrating Thanksgiving and there is some discord around family, bring in some music that will help dissipate kind of this energy. So just lean into sound and music to make things a bit more peaceful. And stay away from, we talked about the poison, but the gossip, talking ill of people. Be very clean. Be very clean. Again, if you're chanting mantra, don't even speak a mantra if that is not your practice. So lean into Jupiter, lean into good living. Mars is getting very strong. It's going to be entering its retrograde, and that's a bit of a hot moment in time for all things war zone. Now, on the darkest side of Mars, I want you all to understand this about Mars. There is nothing wrong with setting boundaries. There is nothing wrong with being able to say, hey, that is not okay with me. And we can say that, we can be strong within ourselves. We can set boundaries. We can be assertive. We can work through things, because disagreement and discord is always going to be here. And we have to get along, and we have to, be able to communicate with each other when things are not okay. So there's nothing wrong on some level. There is right anger. There is right moment where you have this fire that comes and says, oh, I'm not okay with this. And to be able to express it and understand that you have to communicate this to someone else and say, that's not okay with me, and find a way, and then lean into Jupiter to find a balance, to find a resolution. Yeah, there's nothing, that's the natural movement of anger, and that's a beautiful expression of Mars. Mars is also logistic. It has this fire of being able to organize things and this logistical energy. It's beautiful. And also that's a strong Mars, but a dark Mars, a more like debilitated Mars, a Mars that has a really hard time to express when it's not okay, when it wants to say, hey, like, step back, please. And it's not able to do that. It's really struggling with the anger and the way the fire is moving, which is making it resentful. It can make it controlling, right? It can make it overly controlling. And it can make it very vengeful. So just even for us in our life, be really cautious if there is any vengefulness, old anger that's lingering, that's making you be vengeful. Try really let that go. That is a practice. Just take stock in this moment to review where there is still this energy that may be lingering over old relationship, and try to resolve it so you're not carrying that on the mundane level. That's bad for obviously war zones, places where there is already such discord and difficulty, as this Mars is going to slow down and get really strong. And there's a certain aspect of, especially with this dark moon, of like a little bit of like nastiness, sneakiness, darkness, things that are being done in the underground or not being seen, and just kind of not very nice moves. So that's an important thing to understand about Mars. There's the beauty of Mars, where it can be very straightforward, logistic, move things forward. And then there is when Mars has a really hard time and is pulled towards a bit more of a dark energy. And a debilitated planet has more towards a dark energy, But this Scorpio has a certain level of transformation and of things that are hidden. Yeah, things that you're not really showing. And actually K2 has a very strong aspect of that, of like people that never really show themselves truly. They're always a little bit in hiding. Yeah. So that Scorpio is debt. Scorpio is sometimes, when pulled in the wrong direction, dark magic, which we don't want to touch. Scorpio is this mystical sign of transformation. And it has this darkness because transformation is where things come to die and change and be reborn. Yeah? And actually, the 7th house and 7th lord, which comes right before Scorpio, the 8th house, is a point in Vedic astrology where we're taught that it can bring about the end of those transformation, which means the end of life. Because if there is no more transformation and change in our life, then life isn't happening anymore. So this transformation is always a part of our lives. Now, Scorpio shows stagnant water, murky water. So sometimes individuals that have very strong Scorpio placement, it's really good for them to do talk therapy, to talk through things, because they'll have a hard time with movement in their lives and being able to move through their emotions and clear things away. They'll carry things, things will be murky, yeah? So all in all, be good with your speech. Mercury is also money. Please don't overspend. It's a good time to review where you're at with your finances. This is this dark moon coming, the 30th of November, 1st of December. And then in terms of mundane issues, we'll see some increased military action as we get closer to this very strong moment in the sky, point in the sky of this stationary Mars, which is December 7th. It'll be okay. The next full moon is going to be quite close to Jupiter with the moon exalted, so we'll talk about that. It's beautiful, beautiful alignment, something to look forward to. We're in the holiday, the end of the year. Wow. There'll probably be a little bit less videos in December, and I'll be back a bit more full-time in January, but I'll come here for the full moon. And we still have 2 videos in the work, one on karma and one on Dharma Devata, which I'm excited to share with everyone. If you're wanting a reading, I'll be booking for the 1st, about 10th of January. There's open bookings for 10th of January moving forward. And yeah, take care of yourself. Be good. Be honest.